Critical Role is coming back to movie theaters. Is the Pokémon trading card game intentionally causing shortages? And the Elden Ring movie is really happening?
May we meet again.
Welcome to Tabletop News Tuesday on the Character Sheet, your first look at the week's biggest TTRPG and fantasy news. Before we talk some Critical Role, Elden Ring, and more, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep this channel growing? And then, let's dive into the news.
Compelling and rich.
Critical Role is heading back to theaters in 2025, and it's the biggest theatrical release they will have ever done, with 800 movie theaters involved across the US and Canada. So just what will those 800 theaters be showing? It turns out that in order to get even more fans a chance to see the upcoming Critical Role live shows, which of course are the 2 live shows in Australia and then the 2 remaining US shows at Gen Con and New York Comic Con, Critical Role has entered into a deal with Fathom Entertainment to have those live events shown in theaters the same day as they're recorded. Critical Role has done big theatrical releases before for events like the first episode of Campaign 3, but with 800 movie theaters showing their live shows across North America, this will be the biggest theatrical release in the show's history. It would also help explain the more experimental nature of the Chicago show, as that was not included in the planned theatrical releases, but we did learn a bit more about the other theatrical releases, specifically that critters need to plan for a full-length Critical Role episode of about 5 hours for each of them. So if you want to enjoy all the energy of seeing Critical Role's live shows with a crowd, but you can't afford the time or cost to travel to Australia or New York to see it in person, you can buy your tickets today and watch them from the convenience of your local movie theater.
Come on, give me it.
The Pokémon trading card game has been plagued by scalpers and high prices in the last year, and while they are taking steps to prevent scalpers from running wild on very specific online releases, like the White Flare and Black Bolt Elite Trainer boxes they released on the Pokémon Center, it seems that they may be intentionally creating a shortage of cards, which is potentially a major contributing factor to the game's insane economy lately. It turns out that from March of 2023 to March of 2024, the company produced 11.9 billion Pokémon cards. But in the past year, from March 2024 to March 2025, when scalpers have been driving prices up and making product incredibly hard for fans to buy, all issues the Pokemon Company is aware of, they have reduced their output down to 10.2 billion cards, a decrease of nearly 15%. While that is still a huge number of cards printed, especially compared to the 2 billion or so cards they were making a year back in 2019, with the massive spike in Pokemon's popularity, it does kind of appear that Pokemon wanted to short the market a bit to drive demand even higher and ensure as many units sold as possible. But the side effect of that may have been an absolute field day for scalpers, who are using the reduced availability to buy up Pokemon products and then resell them at huge markups. Fans have not been pleased by the Pokemon Company's release of this info, especially when so many are struggling to find any kind of Pokemon trading card game product to buy close to retail price, so we will have to wait and see if the company addresses the backlash as the new Destined Rival set launches this week in America, with most stores charging substantially over MSRP for the product yet again, and fans seeming none too pleased about it. Netflix dropped 2 major updates to The Witcher Season 5 ahead of Tudum this week. The first of which is confirming that Season 5 will in fact be the final season of the Netflix fantasy show, which now stars Liam Hemsworth as Geralt, in a role made famous by Henry Cavill before he left the show over creative differences. The second big piece of new info is that Season 5 will heavily feature Skellig, the Viking and Gaelic-inspired island nation in the games and novels. These clan-based sea raiders, united under the King of the Skellig Isles, were allies of Sintra and have been raiding the coast of Nilfgaard in revenge for the destruction of the city in the games and in the novels. Also in the games, they feature in several major plot points from The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt, and they also have big chunks of novels like Tower of the Swallow, where Yennefer flees to the Skellig Isles after escaping from the Lodge, aka Sorceress School. So could the show finally be tapping into more of that much-requested video game lore for Season 5? With Tudum only days away, we shouldn't have to wait very long to find out what Skellig plotlines we'll be getting, and get our first real in-depth look at Liam Hemsworth as Geralt.
It's about damn time.
And finally, the much-rumored Elden Ring movie is really happening, with A24 confirming that they are going to produce the Elden Ring movie with director Alex Garland at the helm. This is a somewhat shocking move, as Elden Ring is a vast fantasy setting with a huge scope to the enemies and the land itself, and A24 is known for producing smaller, low-budget indie films like Hereditary, Moonlight, and Talk to Me. Taking a big swing at epic fantasy seems like a massive departure for the studio, and the reported $70 million budget, which is the highest in A24's history so far, still seems like not nearly enough to do the massive world of Elden Ring justice. For comparison, the cheapest MCU movie ever made was the original Iron Man, which came in at around $130 million 2 decades ago. So $70 million in 2025 just doesn't seem like enough money to do the incredibly rich and horrifying world of Elden Ring justice. That said, if Alex Garland's script focuses on a specific Tarnished and tries to tell their story in a more personal and grounded way that is just set in the world of Elden Ring, that could possibly work. We saw a similar approach with the critically acclaimed The Green Knight several years ago, but it feels like Elden Ring fans, who have grown to expect incredible battles against massive, impossibly monstrous demigods, will probably have to make do with something less now that it's A24 putting out the film. But on the bright side, with A24 also now working on the new Death Stranding movie, perhaps this shows that the studio is looking to expand from critical darling to blockbuster filmmaker, and a $70 million budget can easily balloon up to $100 million or more when those post-production bills hit. So we'll just have to wait and see what kind of Elden Ring movie we're getting when we get more plot and casting info later this year. And that's all we have this week for Tabletop News Tuesday. Let us know what your favorite story was down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.